Anything that requires you to fill in the blank could cause you to crash. A. Take your eyes off the road. B. Take your hands off the wheel. C. Take your attention away from the task of driving. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Anything that causes you to take your attention away from driving, take your eyes off the road, and/or take your hands off the wheel is a distraction. When driving on an interstate. A. Stop on the shoulder of the road if you are tired. B. You should always use cruise control. C. Signal, check mirrors, and check blind spots before changing lanes. D. You should change lanes often. C. Signal, check mirrors, and check blind spots before changing lanes. Signal, check your mirrors, and check your blind spot before changing lanes or passing on an interstate. Only stop on the shoulder of the interstate in the case of an emergency and change lanes as infrequently as possible. Cruise control should not be used in heavy traffic or under poor weather conditions. When driving in fog, you should use your A. Low beam headlights. B. High beam headlights. C. Parking lights. D. Hazard flashers. A. Low beam headlights. If you must drive in foggy conditions, you should use your low beam headlights, as well as your fog lights, if your vehicle has them. High beams direct their light upwards, where it can bounce off the fog and into your eyes, reducing visibility even more. A pedestrian starts to cross in front of your vehicle. You should A. Flash your lights. B. Slow down. C. Speed up and pass in front of the pedestrian. D. Stop and let the pedestrian cross. D. Stop and let the pedestrian cross. Slow down and be prepared to stop whenever you see pedestrians walking on or crossing the roadway. Be particularly careful where children are present. Always yield the right of way to a pedestrian crossing in a crosswalk.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
Which of the following about winter driving is not true? A. Winter is the most difficult driving season. B. Checking your vehicle's antifreeze and windshield washer fluid levels is especially important during the winter. C. Using cruise control in winter weather is a safe thing to do. D. It is best to use snow tires on your vehicle. C. Using cruise control in winter weather is a safe thing to do. You should not use cruise control on snow, in rain, in fog, or under similar hazardous conditions. Winter is the most difficult driving season and requires extra caution from drivers. It is important to consistently check your antifreeze and windshield washer fluid levels. Using snow tires can increase a vehicle's traction on the surface of slippery roads. When making a right turn on a green light, you must A. Maintain your normal driving speed. B. Stop and look for nearby police cars. C. Yield to pedestrians. D. Increase your normal driving speed. C. Yield to pedestrians. Unless a posted sign prohibits it, you may turn right or left at a steady green light. When turning, you must yield to other vehicles and pedestrians within the intersection. If you are turning onto a street with more than one lane traveling in your direction, you should A. Turn into the lane closest to your previous lane. B. Turn into the lane marked with an arrow. C. Turn into the middle lane. D. Turn into any lane. A. Turn into the lane closest to your previous lane. When turning onto a street with more than one lane moving in the direction that you are traveling, turn into the lane that is closest to your previous lane. Do not change lanes when turning. You are driving on a highway divided by two solid yellow lines. You may A. Cross these lines only to make a left turn into or from an alley, private road, or driveway. B. Cross these lines to pass other vehicles, but only if there is no oncoming traffic. C. Cross these lines under no circumstances. D. Cross these lines only to make a U-turn. A. Cross these lines only to make a left turn into or from an alley, private road, or driveway. Double solid yellow lines are used to mark roadways where passing is prohibited from both directions. You may cross these lines only to make a left turn into or from an alley, private road, or driveway. You may pass another vehicle if the line dividing your lane from the lane you wish to enter as a fill in the blank line. A. Broken white. B. Double solid yellow. C. Solid yellow. D. Solid white. A. Broken white. White lines separate traffic lanes traveling in the same direction. You may cross broken white lines to pass, as long as the passing lane is clear. Crossbuck signs indicate A. Railroad crossings. B. School zones. C. No passing zones. D. Hospitals. A. Railroad crossings. Crossbuck signs tell drivers to yield to trains at a railroad crossing. Drivers should not try to outdrive a train. The most important thing to remember about speed management and curves is that you must A. Drive at the posted speed limit as you enter the curve, then slow down at the sharpest part of the curve. B. Slow down before you enter the curve. C. Accelerate gently before you enter the curve. D. Drive at the posted speed limit before, throughout, and after the curve. B. Slow down before you enter the curve. The most important thing to remember about driving in curves is that your vehicle's inertia may make it difficult to turn. To maintain control, it is essential that you slow down before entering the curve. To enter a freeway, A. Signal, yield to existing traffic, and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. B. Signal and enter the freeway. Freeway traffic must yield. C. Drive slowly so you can check traffic. D. Always come to a complete stop first. A. Signal, yield to existing traffic, and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. When merging into traffic, you should signal and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. Always yield to other traffic when entering a roadway. You are coming to an intersection and have a green light. Pedestrians are crossing against the red. You should A. Honk your horn. B. Speed up and pass in front of the pedestrians. C. Stop to let the pedestrians cross safely. D. Drive close to the pedestrians and frighten them so they'll think twice before crossing against a red light. C. Stop to let the pedestrians cross safely. Yield to pedestrians and cars that may be caught in an intersection when you have a green light. Be careful around pedestrians under every circumstance. Passing is prohibited? A. In a curve. B. Within 100 feet of an intersection. C. If your lane is next to a solid yellow centerline. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Passing is prohibited in a curve, on a hill, or in any other location where you would be unable to clearly see oncoming traffic. You may not pass within 100 feet of an intersection, bridge, viaduct, tunnel, underpass, or railroad crossing. When an approaching vehicle is in your passing lane, where signs or road markings prohibit passing, and when a vehicle ahead of you has stopped to let pedestrians cross the road. A leaking exhaust system can A. Cause excessive oil use. B. Require your vehicle to have a tune-up sooner than normal. C. Make you drowsy while driving. D. Set grass fires on country roads. C. Make you drowsy while driving. The exhaust system helps remove toxic gases, reduce the noise, and cool the hot gases coming from a running engine. Fumes from a leaky exhaust system can cause death in a very short time. They can also make you drowsy while driving. You are driving in the left lane and want to move into the right lane. You should A. Check your mirrors, signal, and look over your left shoulder for other vehicles before changing lanes. B. Check your mirrors, signal, and look over your right shoulder for other vehicles before changing lanes. C. Check your mirrors, signal, and look over both shoulders for other vehicles before changing lanes. D. Check your mirrors, signal, and change lanes. B. Check your mirrors, signal, and look over your right shoulder for other vehicles before changing lanes. When changing lanes, you should check your vehicle's blind spots by looking over your shoulder in the direction that you want to move. Always check your mirrors and turn on your directional signal before beginning a lane change. This road sign means A. Divided highway begins. B. A steep grade is ahead. C. The overpass ahead has a low clearance. D. Two lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions are about to merge. C. The overpass ahead has a low clearance. This sign warns that the overpass ahead has a low clearance. Do not proceed if your vehicle is taller than the height indicated, in this case 13 feet 6 inches. A red arrow displayed on a traffic light means that A. A driver must proceed slowly through the intersection. B. A driver must stop and then proceed when the way is clear. C. A driver must stop and then proceed when the signal changes to a green light or green arrow. D. A driver may turn in the direction that the red arrow is pointing. C. A driver must stop and then proceed when the signal changes to a green light or green arrow. Unless a posted sign indicates otherwise, a traffic signal displaying a red arrow means that drivers must come to a full stop and remain stopped until a green light or green arrow appears. When a stop is required at an intersection and no markings appear to indicate a stop line or crosswalk, a driver A. is not required to stop. B. is required to slow down to make sure crossing traffic is clear. C. should stop only at a place where they can see at least 200 feet on either side, even if they have to enter the intersecting roadway. D. should stop where they have a clear view of approaching traffic before they enter the intersecting roadway. D. should stop where they have a clear view of approaching traffic before they enter the intersecting roadway. If there is no stop line or crosswalk, you should stop at the point nearest to the intersecting roadway where you can get a view of approaching traffic. You should not enter the intersecting roadway to gain a better view. To turn left from multilane, one-way streets and highways, you should start from A. the middle of the intersection, B. the right lane, C. the left lane, D. any lane, C. the left lane. To turn left from multilane streets and highways, start from the left lane. This road sign means A. you must travel at the speed indicated, B. the maximum legal speed on the roadway is 55 miles per hour, C. you must travel through the intersection at the posted speed, D. none of the above. B. the maximum legal speed on the roadway is 55 miles per hour. This is a speed limit sign. It indicates the maximum legal speed that you may drive on the road where it is posted. At times of rain, snow, ice, or other less than ideal conditions, you may have to drive more slowly than the posted limit. When approaching an uncontrolled intersection, a driver should A. maintain their speed and proceed. B. stop at the intersection, check in all directions, and proceed. C. yield to all other drivers. D. be prepared to yield. D. be prepared to yield. At an intersection where there is no stop sign or traffic signal, you should yield to a vehicle approaching the intersection from the right. However, always be prepared to yield to avoid a crash. Do this by taking your foot off the accelerator, covering the brake, and looking left, right, and left again. You must not drive your vehicle at a speed greater than A. the maximum speed limit, B. a speed that is faster than is reasonable and prudent, C. a speed that is safe for existing conditions, D. all of the above. D. all of the above. You must not drive at a speed that is faster than is reasonable and prudent. You must drive at a speed that is appropriate for the area where you are driving, the type and condition of surrounding traffic, the presence of pedestrians, the weather, the quality of the road, and light conditions. You must drive within legal speed limits. You are driving along a street and hear a siren. You cannot immediately see the emergency vehicle. You should A. keep driving until you see the vehicle. B. pull to the curb and look to see if it is on your street. C. slow down. Don't stop until you see it. D. speed up and turn at the next intersection. B. pull to the curb and look to see if it is on your street. If you hear a siren or an air horn close by but do not know exactly where the emergency vehicle is, safely pull over to the right side of the road and stop until you are sure it is not headed toward you. When changing lanes on a highway, you should A. signal a lane change. B. check your rearview and outside mirrors. C. check your blind spot by glancing over your shoulder. D. all of the above. D. all of the above. Anytime you want to change lanes, you should properly signal your intentions well in advance, check your mirrors, and check your blind spot. You can check your blind spot by glancing over your shoulder in the direction that you plan to move.